Since Spacies.
Guess what? Don't you know? It's the Since Spacies Show. Guess what? Don't you know? It's the Since Spacies Show. Guess what? Don't you know? It's the Since Spacies Show. Guess what? Don't you know? It's the Since Spacies Show. Guess what? Don't you know? It's the Since Spacies Show.
Welcome to episode number 23.
Guess what? Don't you know? It's the Since Spacies Show.
Guest starring the legendary voice actor for Shenmue, Corey Marshall.
It's the Since Spacies Show, everybody!
G'day invaders, welcome to Since Spacies, episode number 23, and we are joined by the excellent Corey Marshall. You may know him better as Ryo Hazuki. How you doing there?
I am excellent. It's so good to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
This is kind of on the fly. I had to just quickly get this ready and get set up. So this is a little bit different to my normal Since Spacies show. This is episode number 23. We're going to be going through some questions with Corey Marshall, asking him about his time as the voice of Shenmue. And I've got a few questions here from you guys that were sent in. And just on top of that, I've got to thank 5-Star Games for actually sending me out a copy of Shenmue 1 and 2 HD. This will be a prize. This will go to the best question as judged by Corey himself. So I think before we get to the questions, I do have some standard questions that I ask of all my guests, starting with, these are 3 questions. First off, what was your first gaming console and what was the first game you remember playing on it?
Wow. Well, let's see. The first one that belonged to me. Because I have older brothers, so they owned Atari and stuff like that. So I was able to sneak into my brother's room and play those when he was at school, and he didn't like it when I did that, but I did that anyway. But yeah, my first console was so the one that my mother bought me when I was a kid was the Nintendo. So I had the NES.
Okay.
And what did we, what do we play on? I'm trying to remember. It's like I always remember Mario. Like that always pops in my brain. But I'm thinking, I'm going to kind of cheat on this question a little bit, because with the Super Nintendo, we had, well, this is kind of weird because it was Final Fantasy VI, but for everybody else, it was Final Fantasy 3. And no, Final Fantasy, for us here in the States, it was Final Fantasy 3.
It's a whole thing, I know. Yeah, it's just the numbering system's just...
Yeah, me and my friend played that forever, and we wore that thing out if it were possible. But that's kind of like my big memory about the Nintendos that I had.
Okay, so I know that you're big into Final Fantasy. I'm yet to finish 6, which is the version you're talking about, right?
Yeah. For some reason, it was 3 for us. Why? Who knows why? But that's what we got.
The marketing in the 80s used to do all sorts of crazy things like that. So it was Mario, but you're going to cheat and go with Final Fantasy.
I'm cheating a little bit.
Okay.
Because that's what I remember. I was like, okay, well, I had the Nintendo, and it's like I remember Mario all the time. Mario, and it's like, I guess that's the answer. Yeah.
What I mean? Okay. And what is your favorite game of all time? Gun to the head, no pressure.
Yeah. No, so that leads into what I just said. I think it's got to be that Final Fantasy VI, and I think it's just because it's all those memories of me and my friend. So that's the first game that we were just kind of like stupid completionists on. You know what I mean? Like, we wanted to get all of our characters up to level 99, right? We wanted to get all of the ridiculous accessories that you could get for all the different characters, load them up, make them so ridiculously strong that they did 9,999 damage every single time they hit something. You know what I mean?
God Slayers.
Yeah, exactly. I remember we had, it's like we did this like double hit technique with, and then he could do a second turn. So it's like yeah, 9,999, you know, and it's like, and then he gets another turn, and yeah, exactly. And we just did ridiculous stuff like that. We were like,
Did you ever play the PlayStation? It wasn't a reboot, but they added some cutscenes to that game, and they added an orchestra,
wow.
and they added an orchestra soundtrack.
So what? It wasn't the digital orchestra one that?
No, it actually has proper symphony orchestra music over the top now.
Oh, man. Now you're wanting me to go out and find this now. This is.
I'm pretty sure I'm not making this up. It was the Anthology series on PlayStation. You may need to dig hard to find it, but I remember buying that because for me, Final Fantasy VII was my first Final Fantasy game. Because I wasn't an NES. I didn't get an NES until last year, actually.
Oh wow, okay.
Because NES just wasn't big in Australia. It wasn't like it didn't sell, but you would find way more people would be on Team Sega here, or the Sega Master System than the Mega Drive, of course. So yeah, Final Fantasy VII was the first one for me, and it's in my top 5. Top 10 games of all time. Final Fantasy VII. Just as far as impact, I was waiting for that game 2 years to come out, and just feeding off all the different screenshots that were being leaked out at the time. It was crazy, one of the craziest releases I can ever remember. And what are you currently playing at the moment?
Well, let's see. Right now, we'll probably mention my streaming a little bit later, but yeah. So I'm currently streaming, and I'm doing Shenmue, of course, again. But we're also playing Yakuza. So for all you guys who out there probably know, Yakuza is kind of like a spiritual successor to Shenmue. So started out with Yakuza Kiwami, the first one. So I figured, why not start there?
Is there any chance that we could get you as a voice actor on that? I would love to see you appear on that game series somehow.
Yeah,
even as Ryo himself, that would be crazy if they could somehow get amazing, right? Still working in the docks all these years later.
That's possible because the characters are even born in the same day and year, and so people have talked about this a lot. They're like, oh wow, I really want to get some sort of Shenmue Yakuza crossover, and they could do it either in the present time of Yakuza or in the past, sometime getting those two characters together, or
We've got Emerald Rangers in the comments section. How you doing, Emerald? He's saying, I always hoped that Yakuza crossed over with Shenmue or Streets of Rage. Actually, Ryo would do well in Streets of Rage. I reckon he could hold his own.
that'd be amazing. You know what people have talked about too was getting the Hazuki character in Virtua Fighter. That'd be a good.
Well, it was kind of spiritually a game that led on to the creation of Shenmue. It was originally going to be Virtua Fighter, the RPG, or something along those lines.
Exactly.
It's just crazy the evolution of how Shenmue came about. And okay, so what you're currently playing is we got to
Yakuza Kiwami, and I'm on Shenmue 2 right now. But yeah, my daughter plays as well. Currently she's playing Danganronpa. In fact, I think she may have just finished that. But another thing we do too is that we love to live in the world of Breath of the Wild. You know what I mean?
Right.
We kind of like to just go there and live. So we just go there and
not necessarily take on not necessarily continue the quest, just to hang out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she loves it. She's just like, I wish I could live here, and I'm like, well, you can. Let's just go hang out.
Let's just do it. That's like people playing GTA and they play as a cop and they stick to the speed limits and they drive according to the traffic lights, and it's just crazy role playing in that game. You and me share something. We have something in common. We were once on the Sega payrolls, so I just thought I wasn't
okay.
I wasn't sure if you were aware of that.
Okay.
I used to work on the Sega hotline back in the early 90s. So my first job when I left high school was people would be calling in asking how to get past Alex Kidd, or as a lot of my followers would call it, Alex the Kid, just to piss me off. Because they would actually say that. Oh, I need the cheats for the Alex the Kid. I'm like, yeah, it's not called that, but anyway. So
I remember that you mentioned this before. So you were the one that you could take care of some of these annoying kids. Was that what you're saying?
We got them all. My favorite memory was when the kids were trying to explain where they're up to in the game. And you know what kids are like. They don't necessarily stick to convention when it comes to explaining themselves. And this one kid I remember in particular was playing Wonder Boy, the Monsters Trap, Wonder Boy 3. And he's trying to explain the sound that it made. And I'm just cracking myself laughing at the way this kid's doing the sound. It was so cute. And what we used to do is put the kid onto the loudspeaker and mute it and go, hey guys, check this one out. And then when he's finished the sound, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't quite get that. Can you do it again? And we're trying to see how many times we can get the kid to do the sound effect before they got fed up.
Yeah.
As per usual, it's become a standard that Game Boy Bryant will be the first question to lead off. So here we go. Game Boy Bryant, what have you got for us today?
Hello, Spacies. Filming this one a little bit later after the other one because you want me to film it because you got the voice actor for Ryo Hazuki. I keep having to think about his name because I keep forgetting because you played that game, I haven't. Anyway, special question for Ryo's voice actor is this. When did you first get cast to play the main character? And was anybody up for the role before you? Because stories like that pop up a lot where one person was cast for the role but didn't get replaced. So I want to know, when did you actually get cast? And besides all that, where's your opinion on the phenomenon Shenmue apparently spawned over the years? Even working on the latest game and how much stuff has changed in the voice acting side of things, like blues and stuff. Anyway, Spacies, take care. Want to hear his answer. Take care, both of you.
Okay.
Thank you for that, Game Boy Bryant. Yeah.
So yeah, the way we did the audition was kind of like it was one of those kind of en masse auditions that took place for me in New York. I was living in New York at the time. So I had answered, kind of like an ad that they had running in a publication for actors, just talking about what kind of roles were available to audition for. So as far as beating somebody out, yeah, no, as far as I know, there wasn't anybody who they had in mind who was already an established voice actor, because voice acting was pretty young back then, or like another established famous actor or anything like that. So
Nolan didn't get that one. He
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So I wish that I could say that, yeah, I beat out Nick Cage for that role, but it didn't happen. So it was kind of one of those. Yeah, it's just it was an audition that anybody could show up to. And yeah, in New York, they had a bunch of people show up to it, but it's kind of like I don't know if it's almost what you might call a cattle call, where it's just like almost anybody could anybody could show up for it, and then it was only the callbacks that they had narrowed us down quite a lot. So I had 2 different auditions for that. But nobody particularly famous.
I think you're selling yourself a bit short there when you say cattle call, because you were an actor of sorts before that. You were not necessarily a voice actor, but you had done stage production and
sure.
But you were leaning towards of all things ballet. Is that right?
Yeah. So at the time, I was actually. So yeah, you're right. I had done stage acting forever since I was a kid. You know what I mean? It's the first thing that I ever did in the business was stage acting. But yeah, when I had lived in Texas, there was actually a budding, I guess like TV and movie industry out there. So I had done all kinds of stuff out there as far as TV and commercials and films and all that kind of stuff is concerned. So I had been doing acting for quite a while. But at the time I was living in New York because I was attending college out there, and I was my major was dance, and I was studying ballet and modern dance, and that's kind of like where life was bringing me at the time. And
then it just took a U-turn with the voice acting role,
right? So with the voice acting, the reason I went to it, not because I had experience, but because I was like, well, I'm a big fan of animation, anime, and I'm a big fan of video games, and I had taken all of my previous experience from all the different types of acting that I had done and brought that experience into something that I thoroughly enjoyed. You know what I mean? So I could just translate all that experience into video games and anime. So I was like, well, I think I can do this. I think I can find what they want.
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of stupidly went for it, not just some young kid who didn't know what he was doing, but I was like,
I would say that's the best dumb decision you ever made.
Right? But it's just I just decided to go for it because, like I said, I'm a big gamer myself, and I just decided, this is something that I've always wanted to do. And I took a shot in the dark, went for it, and my very first audition for voice acting, I just happened to get it.
1 for 1. That's not a bad record. And just to elaborate on his second question there, I'm going to change it up a bit. What do you think of the current state of voice acting as opposed to what you went through? Like, do you think it's easier now to get roles, or do you think that it's not easier because, yes, there are more resources available to you, but now you got more people competing for that carrot?
Yeah, absolutely. It's much harder today to get voice acting roles than it used to be. Because it's like back in the time that I was doing, so back in the time when I was doing it, they were still looking for people. There are obviously a lot of people who were established and people who had done voice acting, already for years at that point. But it's like there was still a lot of cross-pollination. You know what I mean? Nowadays, there are people who do nothing but voice acting. Obviously, like that's their job.
It's still crazy to think that, because I kind of get the idea based on hearing your story and how you got the role for Ryo Hazuki in the past. I kind of get the feeling that Sega also themselves didn't really know what they were doing. They were just kind of, well, let's just see if this works, and just throwing it up in the air and see how it flies. How many actual established, or how many dedicated voice actors did they have for the English role? And I'm not thinking, because it's notorious for all the dodgy voice acting that was within that game, I don't have to talk to strangers and all that sort of thing. Right. So how many established voice actors or dedicated voice actors did they actually have for the first game? Because the first game's the one I'm more sort of intrigued with, right, because it was Sega just nutting it out as they were going along.
So that their decision was that they wanted people who were as many native speakers as they possibly could. Somehow they made a decision that they wanted to bring a couple of actors over from the States. Somehow it was their plan that this is what they wanted to do. And so they brought me and the other actress who did Shenmue, and she did some other roles, stuff like that. The first lady they brought by was Debbie Rabai, if I'm not mistaken. And so it was just me and her, and she was also not a voice actress, if I'm not mistaken. I hope I'm not making a mistake there, because she's very talented. And
that sounds like a lot of pressure on you two guys. For you probably didn't realize it at the time, or did you? Did you feel the pressure because there wasn't a cast of other established voice actors to sort of bounce off?
Well, you know, I think what helped is that when we got there, so as far as established voice actors are concerned, they did have basically every voice actor in Japan to come over and do it.
Right.
And of course, as you pointed out, they had some people who weren't professionals as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So with a game that large, they just got as many people as they possibly could, and then even had people like, you know, people the actors that people know, like Eric Kelso and Liesl Wilkerson to come in, and then when they did their main character voices, of course they did like 10 other character voices as well. But when you have that many people, it's just like, you know what I mean? So
it would be hard to rein it all in. Yeah.
Different characters.
How many other characters did you do in the first Shenmue, or was it just Ryo? They didn't want your voice leaking into other characters, maybe.
Yeah, that is precisely right. I said, you know, I if you guys, I kind of felt the burden that they had. You know what I mean? They didn't make that known to me, but I just thought like, oh my God, there are just hundreds of characters here. And I even said to them, I was like, did you want me to do any other characters? Like I can change my voice. I can do different characters. I can do old characters, young characters. I can do whatever, shop guy number 5 or something. Like, you know what I mean?
We all remember shop guy number 5. Yes.
Then they said, no, we want you to, you know, concentrate on being Hazuki, you know, just all day, every day, just think about him. We don't want you to do anything else. And I was like,
I kind of feel like at the end of the day, that was not a bad decision. And it was a brave decision because, I think by the time you got to Shenmue 2, your voice, you started to come into your own a bit with the voice. It started to get a bit more range, I think, with the sequel. So
sure,
I'm thinking that was probably a really good idea that they got you to just stick with Ryo for the first 2 games. At least I'm assuming with the second one you didn't have any other cameos with other characters.
Yeah, same as well. Yeah, just Hazuki. Yeah.
Would have been nice as a little Easter egg there. Oh, did you know I was actually that guy at the dockyards asking for the photo? Well, thank you very much there for that questionnaire, Game Boy Bryant, and he has sent me videos for questions right up to episode number 31, and I'm up to 23. So that's dedication for you. I've got a few other people who have done that as well now. So it's good to have that support. Thank you, Game Boy Bryant. Okay. The second one is Emerald Rangers / Retro Kaiser. Emerald, what have you got for us?
Kaiser here, aka El Sauso, aka Sauce Bottle. And I've got a really good question for you. Well, I hope you think it's good. I think it's great. Now, as someone who's actually worked in the video game business, I've always wondered, what are your thoughts on emulation? Is it a great way to preserve old games? Or are those rotten doings still in the food right from your mouth? Anyway, would love to know what your thoughts are on that subject. Peace.
Thanks, Sauce Bottle. Yeah. Anyway, so I think what he's trying to get at is, do you think emulating games is, what do you call it? Is it something that can be sustained? That's the word I was looking for. Or do you think? Because I mean,
creating games that are just very similar to other games, is that what we're talking about?
Let me elaborate. You've got this, and they just, and I don't say just without respect, but at the end of the day, it is just repackaged Dreamcast with a sprinkle of, you know, high def graphics and some edit and some more glare effects, etc., etc. And now most of the scenes are in widescreen. That's the other thing. Whereas the cutscenes cannot be done, so they do it in 3x4, 4x3. So. Yeah. Or would you have thought that maybe if they could have done so, just redo it, like remake Shenmue? Because there was rumors and some leaked screenshots that Sega did have, in fact, in mind, or some, was it Sega? I think, no, it was Sega, that they were actually considering remaking Shenmue 1. I don't know about 2, but they were wanting to redo 1, remaking it in Unreal Engine or whatever.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean that's an excellent question, because when we re-release stuff like that, right? When you bring it forward, it does open up the possibility for more people to buy that, to bring it to new generations. And there's a lot of people who maybe didn't even get a chance to play it for the first time. A lot of people I know have contacted me and said, actually, I'm a new fan to Shenmue, because when it came out on the PS4, I got it for the first time. You know what I mean? So I was able to. There were a lot of people who were able to play it for the first time, and they became really big fans, and they're like, wow, this is a really great game. I can. A lot of people have told me, like, I see where games came from because of this game, and they kind of they enjoy it for what it is. You know what I mean?
So I've actually got Shenmue on Dreamcast.
Nice.
I didn't get it, but I didn't get it brand new. I think I got this on eBay about 2006. So a little late to the party, but not that much later compared to a lot of people. But I get the feeling that this is a game that, because it was on a relatively unsuccessful system, it was the fan base is restricted as well. And I got told that a lot of people in Japan avoided Shenmue because, why do I want to play a game where I do Monday to Friday work when I do work in real life? That was the story that I got told. And I can kind of, and at the time I was like, why would you not like Shenmue? This game is awesome. It's the best and blah, blah, blah. But then when that person told me that, it kind of made me think, how would a Japanese person view a game based on Japan? And I guess it's a little different to us Westerners who idolize the Japanese culture, whereas with Japan, they're like, I don't need a game that shows off the Japanese culture. I live it every day. So
right. And interestingly too, I've had a lot of Japanese people tell me that they actually played the game in English. So they said, actually, I preferred your version of the game. And I was like, oh, really? And that maybe have something to do with it as well.
I have never played it. I have never played it to this day with the Japanese voice actor role. I want to do it one day. But to me, you're Ryo. I can't hear it any other way.
Right. So, I mean, to kind of further answer that question, I think, like, to be able to redo, to be able to redo Shenmue today, to rebuild that with a brand new engine. I mean, think about the development on top of that. How much is that going to cost versus how much are they going to be able to sell? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think, especially in the case of Shenmue, just to be able to get it on a platform like the PS4 in this case, to bring it to a new generation, I think is absolutely perfect. I mean, would I love to see a brand new game? Yeah, that would be fantastic. But it's all about just weighing the time, effort, and cost. You know what I mean? To be able to bring a game like that forward to a new generation, and then how is it going to sell? Because we're talking about a Shenmue. It is what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I'm just trying to imagine if they did go ahead with the HD remake, not just I don't know what you would call this, an emulation, I guess, to a degree. Sure. But if they did have to go ahead and redo Shenmue, you'd be having to go in there and redo all those lines again, because there's no way they would use the original samples. It's just not up to modern standards. So
right,
you'd have to redo all those I see, and all the rest of it.
Exactly. You know, and the thing is too is that they would have to choose a studio. You know, they'd probably do it again here in Los Angeles if they were going to redo it.
Yeah.
They probably wouldn't do it in Japan. They'd send it over here to Los Angeles just like they did with 3, and they'd be able to get, you know, thousands of actors to play thousands of roles. You know what I mean?
That's bonkers. Imagine that. If you got the role for Shenmue, but they had today's technology, you would not have got the chance to go to Japan and suck in all the culture over there. That you would have missed out on all that.
Man, I realize that I'm a lucky bastard. That you know, that I was a very, you know, young man at the time. I was in my late teens and early 20s. I was able to live and work in Japan, to be able to travel to Japan at that age. And like you said, be able to take it all in, just to, you know, to live in a foreign country and work there at such a young age was really built who I am today as a person, you know.
I'm gonna have to keep bringing you back to if you keep selling yourself short. You made that luck because you went after it. There's a lot of other people that probably would have been equipped to do the role, but they didn't chase it. You did, so that's something that you can't change. That's part of your history. You went for that role and you got it. So, you know, don't sell yourself short. Because I hear the same story about how I was lucky working at Sega, and it's like, well, yes, I was lucky, but I spent 2 years in high school making my own Sega magazine, the Sega Times, and sending it in to the people at Sega here in Australia. And it was towards the end when I was starting to give up and thinking, well, I think I'm going to have to go get myself a job. And then I got that phone call on that same day to ask to come in and apply for the role at the hotline. So you make your own luck is what I'm getting at. Yeah, sure, you were lucky, but you created that luck. You set that up. So anyway, I didn't want to turn this into a old man giving you wise lectures. Anyway, we'll move right along, but I hope that answered your question. It would be nuts though to see a HD Shenmue redone today.
Oh, I would love it. Yeah, it'd be fantastic.
Maybe one day. I don't know.
You know, I mean, they could plug it into the same engines that they're using on Yakuza and be able to play the game.
Well, that's what I was thinking. They had to build the system from scratch back then. That it would be.
Yeah.
I'm not saying a walk in the park, but it would be easier now because everything's kind of in place. They just have to bring the parts in. Mm-hmm. Whereas back then they were building it from the ground up. Mm-hmm. The next one is from a shirtless Uncle Chunt. I've got to talk to you later about that, Uncle Chunt. What was your thought process behind that? Anyway, question number 3. Here we go.
Chance here, speaking to Corey Marshall. Yes, it's quite the privilege. Thank you very much. Hopefully my question gets in. Just a question with how you think the series has gone and the path the story has led. Where do you see your character turning up? It's definitely, well, hopefully we get a 4th game to continue the story. It's obviously there's more story to be told there, and it seems to have found more fans and new fans alike. And yeah, I'm just curious. I don't know if you've probably been asked this question before, but where do you see your character going? How do you think the story will end up? You know, it could go a lot of ways, and a lot of people have their theories out there. I know Brian's probably got his own, but I'd like to hear it from yourself. What do you think is the pathway the story of Shenmue is going? Peace, guys. Toodaloos. I'm going to push this button now.
What's the story there, Chunt? That's not your normal gig. We were trying to work out if you're topless enough, but we couldn't see past the neckbeard there. Anyway, so yeah, he's asking where do you... I don't really have a theory of this because I was expecting to see more of Landy in 3, but we never got that. So my hands are up. I don't know where the story's going. So yeah, with the end of Shenmue 2, we saw and if you haven't played it by now, you've had 20 years. There's a bit of a change in the plot that just makes you go, oh, wow. Okay, so this is going in a totally different direction. We did, and I don't think we really got to touch into that a lot in 3. Do you think that that's probably what they're going to open up with more in 4? Is the darker elements side of this potential to this story?
Right. What I feel that 3 is, it is that bridge, right? That sort of story that gets us to 4, because the information that I was aware of in the past has probably changed because of that long gap between 2 and 3.
Right.
And in 3, I wasn't really expecting. When we got that story, I was like, okay, wow, this is different. And like you said, when we get that sort of plot twist turn at the end of 2, and then when 3 happened, we kind of, we it's like we picked up right where we left off, but we, as far as destination, but we didn't get that story. So yeah, I feel like we're literally crossing a bridge of story that we could get. First of all, Yu Suzuki and his new company and all that kind of stuff started with a game that we could get all that established, basically to get the story back on track again, is where I'm going.
Right.
Is where I'm going with this question. So I believe that 3 is, like I said, I keep referring to that analogy as of a bridge, where we're just kind of crossing that bridge so we can get back on track with that story. So, the things that I knew before in the past have definitely changed now that 3 has come out. So to put a short answer on that question, unfortunately, I don't know.
Okay.
We'll see what happens with 4 and 5, and if we kind of pick up on some of the storylines again, then when 4 rolls around, then I'll be like, oh, okay, I can see that we're back on track now. I see that, you know what I mean? But
I'm kind of curious to see if they're going to age Ryo. How much are they going to age him before this story is complete? Like, is he going to get to, 30, 40 before he gets...
I know, right? Well, see,
yeah.
Hey, I wouldn't hate that. That'd keep me in work for a long time, you know?
But
I guess my legacy will be Shenmue. I'll just be known as the Shenmue guy. I wouldn't hate that. Like, if I did nothing but Shenmue for the rest of my life, that'd be kind of cool.
I've got a theory on that. There's a lot of people that they hate being known as one thing, but there's a lot of people that don't get known for anything. So the way I look at it is that you own it. You just own it. And if something else, I mean, look at, for example, Mark Hamill. He's Luke Skywalker, but he's also the Joker. He's also a lot of other things. It's just that most the layman in the street only knows him as Luke Skywalker, but he's a ridiculously talented person if he puts his mind to it, of course. So, you wouldn't never let something like that hold you back. Something else I was thinking of too, this is just me, my mind wanders sometimes, and while you're answering that question, Shenmue 1, you can die.
Yeah.
There is and it was in a top 10 list. I was watching YouTube and they said top 10 games where you can die if you really put your mind to it. And it's in the top 10. I think it was like close to 1. If you delay
to the bad ending.
The bad ending, correct. So if you just keep piss farting around arcade orders or
video games and
playing Hang On and whatever and capsule toys, one day you're going to come home and find Inesan is not there, and you're going to get yourself beaten up by Landy, who's just going to come along and finish off the job. Can you die though in Shenmue 2? I don't think you... Is there a bad ending for that one? I can't ever remember.
Bad ending? No, there's not a bad ending like there is in Shenmue 1, but yeah, you definitely die. I mean, there's a part where you're trying to make your way up 10 floors in a building.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. I hate those beams. Those quick time events.
Right? So yeah, you definitely can die on that. And it's hilarious when I was actually streaming just recently that I was doing those beams. Funnily, that we're bringing this up, and somebody had subscribed, and I'm like, "Oh, you're subscribing now that I'm trying to concentrate on this." And then literally right when I said that, I messed up the QTE. He toppled over the side, fell down, and died. And I was like, "Oh my God! Thanks for subscribing." As you watch me tumble down to my death, 10 floors down.
I actually have flashing lights that go off when people follow or subscribe, and I will deliberately wait for a moment that's really tense and hit the follow button just to annoy him. So yeah, no, that's an interesting point. Yeah, you could die in one. You could, if you really tried. Shenmue 2, you can die a little easier. 3.
Sure.
You die in 3?
Can you die in 3? Shoot. Can you die in 3?
And I'm disappointed that none of you asked this question, by the way. I had to be the one to think of this. These are the big challenging questions. If anyone knows if you can die in Shenmue 3, let us know. I can't ever recall dying. I can remember getting frustrated with it.
QTE and stuff like that, like on the boat and all that kind of stuff.
But usually it's like it ends in "oh shucks, he got away" sort of thing. You know, it doesn't really change the outcome of the game, and then you just get sent back to redo it. So it's like the game really wants you to. It just keeps pushing you along until you finish it. Yeah.
Until you're like, "Come on, stupid, hit the right buttons." A little quicker.
Was it the first? No, I was going to say, is it the first game to do QTE? But Dragon's Lair beats that by quite a while. And I guess Dragon's Lair is
talked about Dragon's Lair, right? So that's definitely a QTE style, but the QTE that we know today really did come from Shenmue, where we have, you know, the at least the 3 different buttons as well as the directionals and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, Dragon's Lair, of course, everybody remembers that. I love that game, by the way. God, I just spent so many stupid amounts of money on that game.
Well, every other game here was 20 cents. We didn't do quarters. It's 20 cents here. And every other game was 20 cents. And then that game came along and it was $1. Like, whoa. So not only did it eat a lot of your money, but you didn't get a lot of time on it, because that game, I remember, was brutal. It was notorious for being really hard and not really much in the way of hints as to which direction you actually needed to go. You just had to memorize it. Yeah.
Basically the QTE that we know and love and hate today. Kind of was pioneered by Shenmue, so that's something.
Well, Ryo Suzuki himself, I would imagine. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We have got now question number 4 coming up. This one is from Oddpod, and you guys should get onto Oddpod. He is an odd character that's just not in name, but he's got a quirky sense of humor, and he has puppets that help him with his channel. So it's not just him, it's his whole array of different characters he's got. So you should get onto that. But Oddpod, what have you got for us with question number 4?
Hey everybody. Okay, so my question is, how did you actually get into voice acting, and what advice would you give to people trying to get into it now?
Sorry about that. That question kind of looped. It was I had a lot of technical difficulties with your question because it was so short. It would crash the system because the video clip was so small. So I had a lot of issues with that one, but I just decided in the end, just loop it. And I forgot about the loop. So his question, I forgot to, how did you get into voice acting, and what advice do you have for people wanting to get into it now? I would imagine that this is probably a common question for you with a lot of people, that voice acting, that looks easy. No, but
Well, I mean, I touched on this a little bit before. I when I had auditioned for it, it was literally the first thing that I did, right? So that the previous question sort of answered that, how I got into that. But I want to go straight to the advice for people because I think a lot of people misunderstand what voice acting is. I think a lot of people think that if you can do voices, like if you can do impersonations, or if you got a great Stewie Griffin or something like that, that is voice acting. You know what I mean? And yes, doing different voices and doing character
That's
voices
half of it,
and all that
though.
kind of stuff. Yeah. I wouldn't even say half of it. You know, the thing is that Bill Black, the voice director for Shenmue 3 here in Los Angeles, me and him had talked about it actually a few times. And he says, I always tell people, like, look, you have to be an actor.
Yeah.
You have to be an actor first. So, yeah, you might be able to do a Stewie impression, but what happens when you have a whole script in front of you? Can you act with that impression the whole time? Can you be dynamic when it comes to whatever emotions that he might be feeling in that particular situation? You know what I mean? Like, sometimes Stewie is sad, you know? Sometimes he's really angry and he wants to take over the world. Sometimes he might have some genuine moments of friendship with Brian. You know what I mean? So you have to be an actor first. So I tell people, like, look, it's not like you've got a great set of voices and then you do an audition and like, hey, great, come on in. I'd love to have you do some video games with me next week. You know what I mean? Like, that's just not how it works. You know, I always tell people, like, look, you gotta do the same thing that every voice actor has to do. You have to hone your skills. You have to be, you have to, it's like, think about it as like martial arts. You could think like, well, anybody can throw a punch. Yeah, sure. I mean, I could throw my fist out there and hit a wall. But that's not fighting. You know what I mean? Like, if you're gonna go into the ring with a serious fighter, he's gonna knock you out in seconds, right? So that's what a real actor is. A real voice actor is somebody who trains in martial arts. They get up in the morning, they jog for 5 miles, they go into the gym, they lift weights, and then they go into their martial arts gym and they do whatever, whether it's Muay Thai or whether it's mixed martial arts, and then they gotta do, you know, jujitsu on top of that. Same thing with actors. So if you're an actor, you have to train your voice. Some people, in fact, you know, I recommend this to people. I actually tell people to take voice lessons, like singing lessons, because that can then
lend itself over to the voice acting role.
You can get a higher range in your voice, you can get a lower range in your voice. You sort of open up that ability. But then you have to take classes, you know what I mean? You have to know how to emote. You know what I mean? Like, you have to know how to get angry, you have to know how to get sad. And then you might want to take classes on how to do character voices and all that kind of stuff. It's just like a martial artist. Think about it like that. A martial artist has to train and train and train and train. Same thing with actors, same thing with voice actors. You have to be able to do the work. That's like the advice that I give people. Like, look, you got to be an actor first, and then all of the other stuff comes on top of that.
One of the most famous of all voice actors, obviously, was Mel Blanc. And I remember seeing somewhere once someone asked, what's the most impressive voice acting achievement anyone has ever done? And they were referring to Mel Blanc, where he was doing Daffy Duck impersonating Bugs Bunny, and then going back to Donald Duck, Daffy Duck, and then Bugs Bunny as normal, all on the fly, impersonating, and then normal voice, and then impersonating. And it was like the level of skill needed to do all that on the fly and not stuff it up is just intense and insane. Like, that's top tier voice acting, he said. And he said, I've never to this day heard anyone else impress me any more than that little section there where he was doing all that. That's like god tier level.
Yeah, absolutely. So the thing is that once you get into that, so if you're doing Daffy or Donald or something like that, right? Those voices are kind of intense sometimes, and you get into that pocket, right? And you kind of have to like live there. You know what I mean? And once you get into that pocket and that mindset, you're able to, yeah. So he was able to do those impressions because it's like, because he had lived there for so long. You know what I mean? It's kind of like saying, let's see if I can make a martial arts. Since that was my last analogy, let's see if I can do it again, right? So it's kind of like taking a Thai boxer and then telling him to switch back and forth between boxing, right? So the Thai boxer has to not use his legs, but then he's going to use all of his boxing skills to go in there and try and fight a boxer or something like that, right? It's like you have to be able to, you can't just leave that Thai boxing and go straight into boxing. No, you have to train for a while and realize what it's like to stand toe to toe to somebody and only use your hands. You know what I mean? And the ducking and weaving is all different and all that.
I like that analogy. Yeah, that works because it's
a whole different game, and it's like if you can live in that boxing world long enough, then you can become competitive. So it's like if you're doing Daffy Duck, right? Who's got some funny speech issues, and then he's doing the impression of bugs, right? It's like you because he's lived there in his head for so long, he can find, okay, well, how would he do that? You know what I mean? Okay, great. Well, because I've been here for so long, I understand how it happens. You know.
And apparently he was doing it without a script in front of him, and he was just able to just come up with it on the fly. It's just insane. Yeah. Maybe he was insane to get to that level.
Maybe that helped him a little bit, huh?
Thank you very much for that, Odd Pod. We have got just the 2 more questions left. Cameron Hons, who I believe is lurking, he just said, hey. Sorry I can't get to the chat, but that's the nature of these shows. I just generally stick to the interview. So, and just on a side note, this is the first time I've only had one guest. So this is kind of a new experience for me. The last time I did have one guest on the very first episode of Yes, Another Bloody Gaming Podcast, and I had to change the name because that was a mouthful. So we rebranded it to the Since Spacies Show. But yeah, that was the very first episode, and I had only one guest, and it's harder than I remember because when I got multiple guests, I've got some crazy people that come on, and I just sort of put a question out and then just hang back, and they all just bounce off each other. This is a little different. Question number 5, Cameron Hons, what have you got for us?
Hello, Corey and Since Spacies. My question for Corey is that how does it feel voicing Ryu again after so many years since the last Shenmue game? Did you even think previously a third Shenmue game would even be made one day after the second one? Because there was just such a long break of no new games coming out at all in the series. I'm pretty sure it would have been quite a wonderful experience voicing this character again after so many years. But I'd really like to see your kind of take on it, if you've got anything different to say about it. Thank you very much for sharing this question, and have a good day to you both. Bye.
Thank you, Cameron. What was it like getting back into the saddle again? Like, did it just, here we go again, or was it a struggle? What was the story?
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Some of these questions are kind of piggybacking off of the previous question because, I was talking about how an actor can live in a role, live in that space for so long. I really did feel I felt like it was like riding a bicycle. You know what I mean? It's kind of one of those things that you don't forget how to do because when you're a kid, you rode your bike all over town and you rode it for hours all day, every day. And it's kind of the same thing. I had been Hazuki for months and I was doing it every day. 5 days a week, so it was easy for me to go back in there and be like, okay, I remember Hazuki. Of course I do. He was this very straightforward, stoic character. Luckily, I didn't have to do much to my voice. You know what I mean? It's sort of my normal speak. I speak a little bit deeper than.
Actually, if I close my eyes, yes, I can picture Ryo.
yeah. So he speaks a little bit. They said that he's kind of a younger character, so just kind of bring up the pitch a little bit, but I don't have to do much to my voice. You know, I it's pretty much me. But I just have to remember who he is. You know, he's just this very, like I said, straightforward, stoic character that I had lived in so long. It's easy for me to pick that back up again. It's really easy. I mean, it's like if they called me to do Shenmue 4 tomorrow, I could do it tomorrow. Like I could show up tomorrow and be like, boom, I'm in. You know what I mean?
Speaking of 4, did you think there was going to be a 3, or was he just going to hang out in that cave with the other chick for all those years? Like,
people talk about that. Like, I mean, did you guys have anything to eat? Did you just eat in like cave
20 years later, they just come back out. Like, what you guys doing there? Just watch the mushrooms grow.
Really, the torches went out, and it took us that long to get out because it was all dark. We couldn't see. You know, we just had to feel our way out.
It is such a weird ending, though. Like, I still can't get it out of my head that they would end on that cliffhanger for so long, and it just really changes the game something horrid as far as the storyline goes, and for them to end on that was just so cruel.
Right. It's like, you know, people had talked about it. They're like, oh my God, just like the biggest cliffhanger ever, right? So like we said, it's that big story change where everything is suddenly different. Like the world that you thought that you were living in is now different, and that's how they had to end it. But
well,
I think that.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, but on that, did you think there was going to be a 3? Did you? You had to have found out before the infamous Kickstarter announcement. You must have been contacted before that.
I can tell you that I was just as surprised as.
No, really?
Yeah, you want me to tell you the story?
Go for it.
Okay, so it goes like this. I was coming home with my daughter. And it was just one of those like typical days, you know. I don't remember what we were coming home from school. I had a bunch of junk in my hands, like her bag, and like I got some groceries or something. And I just remember my phone starting to go crazy in my pocket, right?
Oh my God!
And so I just got a ping, you know, ping, 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 and I was like, oh, that's somebody, that's my friend contacting me. And then it just kind of kept pinging, right? And then other things were like, I'm getting other notifications, so they're coming in from other I don't know if it's Facebook, and then direct message, and then whatever. So I'm getting all these different chimes in my phone, and I'm like, oh damn, like what's going on? Like, is this another national emergency? Like here in the United States, of course, we had the terror attacks and you know 9/11 and all that kind of stuff. I was like, is it something like that? And I thought about it for a second. And I was like, wait a minute. E3's going on right now. I know.
He quickly put it together.
I was like, no. Don't even think about, like, don't bring that up. Come on. There's always some silly rumor that's going on with Shenmue 3. That's what it is. It's a rumor. Somebody said something somewhere, and, you know.
Well, they did. It's just that it was the guy himself. Yeah.
Yeah, like everybody's going crazy because somebody accidentally said something or revealed something, or another leaked picture got out somewhere, and I was like, okay, maybe that's what it is. But as I was walking up the stairs, like literally, I'm not kidding you, the phone in my pocket was starting to get hot because there's just a lot of notifications and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, God, this is really crazy. And I thought, man, maybe. So we're walking up the stairs, and I'm fumbling with the keys in the door because, like I said, I got all this junk in my hands and stuff, right? And before I could turn the lock, my wife unlocks the door. And she opens the door, and, you know, before me, she actually has her iPad in my hand, and she's kind of looking at me, and she goes, "Did you hear?"
Oh no!
And that's the moment I had. I was like, "Okay, is it Shenmue?" And she goes, "Yeah, it's Shenmue." And I was like, "Oh man, of course." So we turned on the live event, and found out right then and there that they had announced Shenmue 3 at that.
E3.
At that E3, yeah.
I was in China at the time, so getting any information at that stage was really hard because I was visiting my wife's family. So you got no Twitter, you got no. They even took Google Plus off us. That was my last go-to, and they took that away. Brutal. So, but luckily I was able to get IGN and just look at videos and podcasts through there, which I believe they've since blocked as well. And I remember seeing the music kick in, and then Ryo Suzuki walking out, and I was in tears when I saw this. I was just like, finally, we can get this. We can get on with this story and get these two out of that damn cave finally.
Right.
I was so stoked though to see that announcement, and I mean, it'll be great to see at least another two. I would be happy, and just to see Landy get his ass kicked finally.
right. Can we finally learn enough kung fu to
yeah.
beat this one?
how many? Oh, what was it? The quest in 4? Sorry, 3. You have to get the 1,000-year rum or so, no
wine. The wine.
Yeah. and I was asking my wife, is this even such a thing? She goes, I don't know. I don't drink.
The guy, and then you got to go chase down some chickens.
Yeah, that was funny. That was just such a ludicrous plot. but he's really wanting to make this guy suffer before he'll teach him some moves. Thank you for that awesome question. We've got the last one to go, so just 1 second while I fire this up. You know what, one day I'm just going to write these down. It'll be easier, I think, than using the pad. Stewie from Scotland has got himself a question here. And I actually was watching a live stream. No, was it a stream or a YouTube video with you tasting Scotch biscuits of all things? Doing a live tester. You got a really good.
My heritage is Scottish, so I have a really strong connection with a lot of my Scottish fans. They love the fact that I'm Scottish, and I love them and all that. And so I was talking about, I don't know how we got into it, but somebody had said, have you ever tried Iron Brew? Which is like a soda that they have there, which is like a crazy sweet, high in caffeine soda.
Oh wow!
Supposedly, like they drink it like water over there, and I'm like, no, I've never tried it. So I asked people, I was like, oh well, what other kind of stuff did you have over there? And you saw that video where they sent me a whole bunch of Scottish treats that some of them were just fantastic.
Isn't there like a loot box service where you can get like a Japanese candy or lollies, and I think you can get. We haven't got. We don't have much to offer in Australia. We've got Tim Tams. If you have never tried Tim Tams, then you've never lived, because they're awesome. They're like chocolate biscuits. You chew the top, you chew the bottom. You put it in the coffee and you use it as a chocolate straw. It's just insane.
Okay.
They call that the Tim Tam Slam. Anyway, Stewie, what question have you got for us? We're too busy talking about you and not listening to you. Here we go.
Hi, it's Stewie. Just want to throw a wee question out for the show. And hi, Corey, as well. Hope you're doing well. Hope everything's okay with you. I was just wanting to throw out a couple of wee questions actually, just a wee questions. I was just wanting to know how you obviously got involved. I know you were a kind of stage actor, I believe, and how did they just kind of contact you? Did you contact them, and to get your voice into the game? And I was also wondering how you felt, obviously, about the third game, and obviously being involved in that, because there was obviously like a 20-year gap, so I'm assuming you probably thought that was never going to happen, but that would be absolutely delighted to hear what you think about that. And also I would really like to know, do you have a replica of that jacket that gentleman wears, or Ryo's jacket, because it is absolutely phenomenal, and I would love to think that you walk around with that on go your shopping and stuff. just to obviously just get into the character, serious stuff. Just hope you are all doing well, and hope you have an absolutely amazing beginning to your year, and take good care of yourself, folks, and I hope this is a really good show. Bye for now.
All right. We'll just gas bagging away there. Sorry, Stewie. We were too busy gas bagging away about Buffalo Bill, and I was just mentioning off camera there that I've got the watch, the Shenmue watch, which I'm not wearing at the moment. But yeah, I've got a major attachment, of course, to Shenmue with past videos, and I was just looking in the background there while you're asking that question, and you've got the Shenmue title sequence playing over and over again, and it just reminded me of when I did my Dreamcast video, and that when it gets to the part where I start gushing about Shenmue, it's just for me such a big part of that video, and because Shenmue is you can't talk about Dreamcast without talking about Shenmue. It's just such an integral part of that system. But back to your question, sorry. He was asking pretty much the same question as Cameron, except he wanted to know, do you ever go out in public with the jacket on? Like, do you ever, I guess, do you ever role play in real life as Ryo Hazuki?
The thing is that we did do this video once. Adam Koralik is for some reason, if you guys don't know, he's a big Shenmue guy. He's really huge in the
Stout by this much I'm meeting him, but anyway, it's another story.
Yeah. So he is from Chicago, but of course he travels all the time. He comes to the conventions here in LA and all that kind of stuff. So we decided to do this video once where, I would dress up as Hazuki. I mean, it was myself. I didn't have to put on any awesome spiky wig or anything, but
Band-Aid?
I put on... Yeah, I put on. Did I put on the pants? I mean, I didn't have any white sneakers, but I definitely had the jacket. And so we did this video where we had walked around the convention, and
asking for sailors.
I was Hazuki, and I was asking people questions like,
have you seen a black car?
Have you seen this black car? Exactly. I'm looking for the guy who killed my dad. You know what I mean? So
casually.
We did do this video. You guys should check it out. Adam Koralik has it buried in all of his stuff somewhere. That was a few years ago now, so you might have to do a little bit of hunting for that one. But that was definitely a fun video.
Speaking of merch and clothing, etc., when I was at Yokosuka, which I can never say properly, is it? How do you pronounce it? It's not Yokosuka.
No, it is Yokosuka because a lot of people think it's Yokosuka.
But I don't think it is, because I've asked a Japanese person and they say no, it's Yokosuka. So they're just trying to get fancy with the pronunciation. And I keep thinking of that one line, "Oh, you're that Yokosuka kid."
Right.
But it got me thinking of the time that I did go to Yokosuka, and I'm walking down the street and I was looking for the jacket. I was hoping to be able to buy it from Yokosuka. You can't buy it, you can't find it, but amazingly enough, there's still jacket shops there, as in the game. It's still like that today. Like, you see the jackets lined up. I'm expecting to see that really creepy looking guy. Hey, Ryo. I can't remember his name, but it's amazing.
I'll be looking for the flower shop with the cute girl out front.
Of course you would be. And there is a florist there. So that was leading me to my point. It's when you're walking, I've got the video up on my channel. It's like playing Shenmue Bingo. That you can see a tattooist, and you can also see the hairdresser with the hairdresser, the barber shop, sorry, I should say. You also spot coming towards me in the video 3 dudes, and they look like the 3 dudes that beat Ryo to a pulp in the car park. And you can see car parks and you can see Coke machines. It's just like, this is ridiculously like, this is like the place that time forgot. There's no cars that really go up and down that road because it's so narrow, just like in the game. You can get cars going up and down there, but it's mainly an off-the-road sort of... But this leads me to my next point. You've never been there.
Yeah.
What's that about?
I had the pleasure to take the pilgrimage yet.
The pilgrimage.
But I don't know. There's several people have done it, including you, right?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of hoping that someday I could hook up with somebody and we'll just experience that together. I mean, we'll take some videos or something and we'll be able to take that pilgrimage together. I don't know.
We stayed at.
I would love to.
Yeah, we stayed at Yokohama in. If you've ever played, actually, it's in the new. I'm trying to figure. Not Kiwami. It's the new Yakuza game. Not Zero. Dragon, Like a Dragon. So in the Like a Dragon, it's set in Yokohama, and you can actually see the hotel that we got to stay in. It's in the background in the game. We've stayed in that hotel, And if you stay in that hotel or anywhere in Yokohama, to get to Yokosuka, it's about an hour train trip. So it's not a big journey to take, but you got to be dedicated to do it. That's the thing. But when you go there, there's naval base. You could spend a day there. And especially as a Shenmue fan, you'd be walking around. Oh, I know this, and you'd be doing the. I didn't get to see any capsule machines though. Actually, no. Hang on. No, I lied. They're not the same as in the game, because in the game they're more like the old, really old school one. They're not gachapon. You know the gachapons? You could do a whole video on just gachapons alone. They're just nuts. You're like, there was one where it was just cats wearing pajamas. That's the whole theme of that one. And
the whole thing.
Yeah. But getting to my
daughter would probably be really into that. That's the one that she would spend, about $1,000.
So my question is, what's the weirdest Shenmue merchandise that you've got or seen or wish you had? Do you have anything that I know you got one or two that you don't want to talk about that are like top secret? You don't want.
Well, right. I mean, I've mentioned a couple of times before that I have like some storyline stuff, some I guess, what am I trying to say, like just some pictures and stuff like that that were sort of given to me, those sorts of special things.
But aside from that, do you know of
anything that's like really super cool that I wish that I had? The thing is that I never had the opportunity to sort of collect any of the statues or anything like that. I do have things around my house. I'm kind of the thing is that I'm myself, I'm kind of a minimalist, you know what I mean? So I don't really own a whole lot, or I don't really have a whole lot of
Sorry,
things,
not like you.
Right. Like that is awesome. That is really, really cool, but I don't have any of that kind of stuff, you know what I mean?
Right.
But I almost feel like, because Shenmue is such a part of me, just like one of those big statues of Hazuki or something like that would be, it'd be kind of cool. It'd be like, oh yeah, that's definitely something that is a big part of my life, kind of thing, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, it's just, I almost feel like if I had that, I would have to definitely minus something in my house, and that wouldn't be that big of a deal. But yeah, I have just stuff from my past, and I was like, okay, well, I could find a space for something awesome like that. You know what I mean? Just because Hazuki is first of all, those big statues of him, he's like, I don't know how big he is. He's like a foot. Well, what we would call 1.5 feet here in the States. He's pretty large, you know what I mean? So something like that would be kind of cool, but I would have to find a special place for him.
It's funny how you're trying to think about the size of Ryo. You were saying in another video that they had folders and folders and folders full of all the NPCs and their life story, just about, and just in-depth little sort of characters of what that person is about. And maybe we'll see a side game of the guy in the Chinese shop or something like that. Like, 'cause it's so full on that how much detail they go into.
What did I mention at the very beginning? Store guy number 5 or something.
Yeah, that's it. He'll get his own beat 'em up game. Corey, thank you very much for joining me. Do you have your channel, your Twitch account that you want to?
I sure do.
Mm-hmm.
So I stream. In fact, I'll be streaming tomorrow, Saturday, at 10 a.m. Los Angeles time. So my Twitch it's pretty easy to remember. It's kind of long. So if you guys, I always do a video, and I put a little I put a what am I trying to say? I embed the Twitch right there, but it's Corey Marshall VoiceOverPro, and I'll be streaming tomorrow, and I'll be doing Shenmue 2 actually, and I'm getting pretty close. I don't think, will I finish it tomorrow? I'm not sure, but that'll be fun because
don't make promises you can't keep.
I know, right? That's why I didn't want to say anything. So yeah, we're getting pretty close to the end of Shenmue 2, and of course we'll be going to Shenmue 3 after that. But yeah, I stream on Mondays, Thursdays and Saturdays. So Monday and Thursday is at 5 p.m. Los Angeles time, and then Saturday is 10 a.m. So that gets a lot of people from Europe and all that kind of stuff who are interested in. Because if I do a Twitch at 5 p.m. Los Angeles time, that's like 1 or 2 in the morning for everybody else over in Europe.
You don't have to talk to me about world times and crazy time standards. It's just it's really hard. Do you know, if I wanted to for my channel stream to the most effective audience, I have to stream at 5 a.m. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, brutal. But yeah, so I'll do the 10 a.m. on Saturday for everybody else who's in Europe and all that kind of stuff. But I've gotten people from Australia, and I've gotten people. I mean, I get people from everywhere. People from
I sub to you, so, yeah.
It's great. I love seeing people from all over the world coming into the streams. It's great.
I love just the fact that, back in the time when you were doing the voicing for the first Shenmue game, we probably never really spoke to people from overseas on a regular basis. Fast forward now to 2021, we are constant. I've got what I call friends from overseas who I've never met, but I regard them as friends. Right. It's just crazy times we live in. It's great. Amongst all the negative stuff that goes on and all the crap that's going on, COVID and raiding bloody Capitol Hills, etc. There are some nice things going on still in this world, and it does enough to make me want to keep going. So glad to finally get to speak with the guy that I've spent listening to so many hours looking for bloody sailors. Corey Marshall, thank you for joining,
and everything else.
Yeah, and all the other stuff. Corey Marshall, thank you very much for joining me here on the Since Spacies Show. I'm just going to leave it at that. My name has been Brian, and I've been gaming since Spacies. Thank you, guys.
Since Spacies.